If you're going to ask me what's one of the most outrageous buzzer beaters of all time, here's one of my personal picks.
As they throw it at the basket.
That's 0.1 seconds left on the clock, and the guy who made this miraculous tip-in is David Lee. Now, if you're an avid Dubs fan, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the name because that guy was a double-double machine, a two-time All-Star, and a one-time selection to the All-NBA team.
That's 12, nice pass, and Lee puts it down.
But after his stint with the Dubs, Lee slowly faded away from the limelight and eventually retired in 2017. So, what happened? Before we get to the meaty part, let's get to know a bit more about how his basketball journey began. Lee was a highly touted high school recruit out of Missouri. Standing at 6'9", he's a prototype, undersized big who can bang with bodies under the basket and give you 10 to 15 boards on any given night. Now, you might think that he's the type of player who fits the mold of a Kevin Love or Zach Randolph. You know, typical undersized power forwards who can operate inside and rebound, but not blessed with leaping ability. Well, prepare to be in awe, guys, because these next clips will blow your brains out. Here's David Lee pulling a Kobe-esque between the legs dunk. And here's a creative dunk that seems to be pulled out from NBA Live 2005.
He's about to take off and fly. He's going airplane mode right now. All right, now. And he's got a birthday cake.
At the end of that competition, would you believe that David Lee took home the trophy against the legendary James Flight White? Dang, white man can jump, indeed. Moving on, Lee got picked up by the Florida Gators in 2001, and he instantly became the low-post reliable guy on the team by averaging solid numbers with his sophomore year until his senior year, where he was joined by future NBA players Al Horford, Corey Brewer, Noah.
Here's Dreyer. He's had one great game this season as Lee is stripped, gets it back, and it's red. Told us that Hector Lopez is a Francisco Garcia.
After the impressive run he had in Florida, Lee submitted his name to be part of the 2005 NBA draft and got selected by the Knicks as the last draft pick of the first round.
The New York Knicks select David Lee from the University of Florida.
Now, before we get to the next part, here's a little bit of trivia about our main guy. Although we often see him take shots using his left hand, Lee actually had to learn how to play using his right hand after he broke his left arm when he was in high school, therefore making him ambidextrous in the process. Fans rained down boos when he got his name called by David Stern on draft night. Lee's numbers steadily grew from his rookie year back in 2006 all the way up to his last year with the Knicks, which ended in an All-Star selection back in 2010. Despite achieving All-Star status, the Knicks decided to move on with Lee as he got signed and traded to the Warriors during the 2010 offseason. Lee got off on the right foot as the member of the 2011 Warriors squad, averaging almost a double-double with 16.5 points and 9.8 rebounds. But more importantly, he was one of the cornerstones that laid the foundation in building the Warriors dynasty. He continued to be a double-double monster as the years went by, and in 2013, Lee received another All-Star nod when he averaged 18.5 points, 11.2 rebounds, while shooting 51.9% from the field. Lee would have another stellar season after that, but his impressive run finally ended when he suffered a complete tear on his right hip flexor in his first playoff game against the Nuggets.
George Karl, it's about attrition as David Lee took a hit.
In the following season, his misfortune continued as he got badly injured during the preseason, which sidelined him for 24 out of the first 25 games of the season. Out of the 82 possible games, Lee only appeared in 49 of them, and this was the first time that he took a back seat and came off the bench as Draymond Green took the starting role. Despite the injuries that he suffered and being demoted to be the team's new role player, Lee remained professional throughout the season and accepted the fact that he wasn't his former All-Star self anymore. Though that may be the case, for Lee, he continued to provide leadership, especially to the young Splash Brothers, and was ready when his number was called. During Game 3 of the 2015 Finals against the Cavs, Lee provided solid off-the-bench support by scoring 11 points on 4 of 4 shooting in just 13 minutes without playing any playoff game prior. Though the Dubs would lose that game, the Warriors' late comeback was considered to be a turning point for the series, and the man who made the biggest impact during that run was none other than David Lee.
Green gets it back. Shot clock at 8. Thompson from the corner. It's good. A three-pointer. Just the fourth three-pointer of the ending. LeBron James.
As we all know, the Warriors eventually won the ship in 6 games, and even if the Splash Brothers did the heavy lifting, I think David Lee's contribution in that Game 3 run also had something to do with it one way or another. The following season, the Dubs decided to trade Lee to the Celtics as they wanted to be free from the financial burden tied with his huge contract. Though there were glimpses here and there of his former self during his stint in Boston, Lee just started 3 games before being relegated to the bench and eventually got booted out of the rotation completely.
11 guys play 10 minutes or more. David Lee!
Basket for Lee. And Lee got it and a foul.
Just a couple of months after being signed, Lee was waived by the Celtics around February 2016, and 3 days after, the Mavs quickly picked him up from the waivers. His stay with the Mavs was just like Boston. It was short and sweet as he got released a couple months later once again. Looking for one final shot at glory, the Spurs took a gamble on Lee, who was 33 at the time. Though he only averaged 7.3 points under Coach Pop, he was able to suit up for 79 games, despite suffering an injury that coincidentally happened against his former team.
Doesn't look like, and there you see him in a wheelchair and distraught.
After 2 All-Star appearances, 1 championship with the Dubs, and sustaining a stack of injuries, David Lee finally called it quits on his own terms back in November of 2017. To cut the long story short, I think he still had a lot left in the tank, but sadly, the car itself wasn't capable anymore to run long miles due to the wear and tear that he suffered over the years. In my opinion, I think he could still contribute and make a significant impact in today's game with his blue-collar mentality and unselfish play. Looking on the bright side of things, Lee had quite a good life outside of the court as he married his fiancée Caroline Wozniacki a few years ago in 2019. When a reporter asked Lee his 2 cents about his life as a retired player, here's what he had to say. "I'm completely at peace with it. I'm really happy that I got to go out on my terms. I think that was very important to me. I had the thought of playing another 2 to 3 years and then got a great business opportunity off the court, and the offers that came through in free agency, I looked at that and I looked at what I had accomplished in the league and thought that now would be as good a time as any." He also shared his lasting memories on being an integral part of the Dubs dynasty. Obviously the championship, and really just seeing this build year by year, and that's what is so special about it. I'll never forget when I signed, and it's not like I was coming from a perennial winner. I was coming from a New York team that had lost a bunch of games. A reporter asked, "Why would you come? Explain to me why you just signed here." I'm not really understanding it. I've been through X amount of losing seasons, and outside of the We Believe year, there's really been nothing positive to happen. And my answer was because I think, obviously, the fan base is incredible, and I think it has some great potential. So, to see it build year after year was a really cool thing to be a part of. I'm glad David was able to call it quits on his own terms, and if you look back at it, he really has had a successful NBA career. Now, moving on to a slightly different topic, from an ex-Warrior to a current Warrior. Have you ever wondered about Gary Payton II and how he got so good at defense? Well, you're in luck today, because if you click right here, I got the video for you all. And let me tell you something, you don't want to miss this video. So click it, and like always, I'll be on the other side.